Oh, my relationship with the USDA, as little as possible. Yeah, so I have strong opinions about policy. My libertarian, I just don't think that we need government intervention in much of anything. I mean, if I were king for a day, I would just abolish the USDA. I don't see any value in it at all. All it's ever done for me is cause trouble. And people say, oh, they give a grant, they do research, all this stuff. But, you got to realize before Abraham Lincoln started the USDA in 1863, there were huge farm conferences all over what was then the United States. And they were attended by 3,000, 4,000, and they would actually put money in a hat and fund research projects on farm, real time. And there was a lot of competition for who gets to present their experiment findings to the group, and these were just massive. They were very, very large, and so it was on-farm demonstration, on-farm research. I've had numerous visitors from the PhD, agronomy, livestock, whatever. One came one time, and he was trying to find out why we didn't have pink eye. We have so many animals, pink cattle, and don't have pink eye. Big problem in cattle. And so I told him, what we're doing with kelp and everything. And because the reason he came was because I had written a letter about the fact that this professor from Virginia Tech had been on the radio the week before doing his weekly radio program about how to give a shot of antibiotic in the conjunctiva of the eye, for pink eye. And I kind of caused a little bit of stir by saying, we've got some other things that we can do about pink eye, like, prevent it. And he came up, and he was pretty impressed with what we were doing, what he saw, and the health of the animals. And I said, so how can you on your radio program offer kelp as a preventive? I mean, what do you have to do a study? I said, well, can't you do a study? He said, no, we can't do a study unless you fund us. This is a government agency, all right? We can't do a study unless you fund us. So this is why the advice is all jaundiced toward great big corporations and pharmaceuticals, because they can't even start a study at the land-grant university, which is the public taxpayer supposedly seat of research knowledge. They can't even start a research unless there's seed money from somebody. Well, we don't have the seed money. The kelp folks don't have the seed money, and we're a small little outfit. We are, the kelp people are, the whole thing, and so this is why you get crazy stuff. I mean, I go to a conference, and there's an agronomy PhD. He's talking about soil health, soil fertility. So he starts up and he goes on a whiteboard and he writes, the three biggest components of the soil are carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen. He writes carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, NPK, chemical NPK. I'm sitting there thinking, if you get your carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen right, you don't have to worry about NPK because the biology finds it and builds it and makes it themselves. And so, this is the kind of stuff. So my relationship with USDA is pretty rocky. And I think I probably irritate them as much as they irritate me. So, I just try to steer clear of them. I don't do grants. I don't do, if I want to do something, I do it myself. And we just kind of steer clear. Yeah. So, I call it the US duh. I do a lot of farm consulting, and I, of course, talk to a lot of people. And it's amazing, farmers, and it's amazing how far behind the USDA recommendations are. Stuff that the USDA recommends that farmers who are listening, where the USDA is their font of information. All right. So my font of information is not the USDA. I don't get any USDA bulletins. I don't do anything with them. Mine is Stockman Grass Farmer and Acres USA and as the Bible says, outside the camp, okay? But if you're getting your font of information inside the camp, inside the USDA, because of this double-blind study requirement, they are never on cutting edge. Whatever they recommend is about 15 years. I've watched it over my lifetime. It's about 15 years behind cutting edge stuff. So stuff that we were learning and doing and implementing 15 years ago, the USDA is just now coming up and recommending, yeah, maybe that's a good idea. That's how far behind they are. So if you want to be out on the innovative edge, don't think the government has the innovative edge, because by definition they can only recommend stuff that is already approved by 51% of the majority of people. Well, that automatically means it's not cutting edge. It's already been adopted by a lot of people.